The middle of winter is not exactly the ideal time to introduce a ragtop, but that hasn't stopped Audi South Africa from launching its A3 Cabriolet in South Africa. Now this car, of course, shares the same platform as the Golf 7 and the A3, both in sedan and hatchback versions, and as you know, that platform is the Volkswagen Group's new MQB chassis, which has a really strong reputation for handling. The question is, will this car maintain that reputation? And you want a way to find out? Let's go and drive it. Considering we live in a sunshine-drenched country with a mild climate by European standards, you'd expect cabriolets to be popular, and they are, although their appeal is more due to their exclusivity and their reputation for glamour than for their ability to let the sunshine in at the push of a button. And let's face it, driving a cabriolet with a top down in summer can be a hot and sticky affair. Still, there's no doubt that there's a romantic allure to wind in the hair motoring, and besides, Audi's latest drop top is a handsome machine. The previous generation A3 Cabriolet followed the hatchback profile of its tin-top stablemate, but this new version looks more like the A3 sedan, which means it also looks more elegant and more grown up. The hood, by the way, can be raised or lowered at speeds of up to 50 kilometers an hour and is acoustically insulated to keep noise levels down. The canvas hood is lighter than a metal folding roof, and because it's less complex, it also takes up less space. With the roof stowed away behind the rear seats, the A3 looks the stylish, elegant part, with chrome detailing around the cabin perimeter and the brushed metal windscreen frame adding further visual interest. The waistline is quite high, which assists in protecting the cabriolet's occupants from the buffeting slipstream. Roof up or down, the A3 Cabriolet feels as swift and nimble on the move as its tin-top A3 sedan sibling, despite our test unit's humble drivetrain. I'm a big fan of the current A3's cabin execution. It matches understated elegance to intuitive ergonomics and a decent amount of standard kit. And of course, the Cabriolet no different. But it is a smaller space, especially for rear occupants. And with the roof up, that seat pillar is quite broad, which means visibility from the rear is compromised as well. Still, I suppose that's what happens when you put a canvas roof on a tin-top designed car. At 320 litres, the boot is only 70 litres smaller than the sedan, while the interior layout is pure A3, which means superior materials, close attention to meaningful detail, and an overriding sense of well-being and quality. The MMI navigation system is a 22,000 Rand option, while the Milano leather adds a further 18,700 Rands to the bill. For now, the A3 Cabriolet is offered with either a 1.4 or a 1.8 litre engine. Our test car is the 1.4S, which means it has 92 kilowatts of maximum power on tap, linked to 200 Newton meters of maximum torque. Gearbox options are a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed S-tronic, which is what we've got in this car, and drive is to the front wheels. A high-performance S3 Cabriolet comes later this year. Still, cabriolets like this A3 don't need a lot of power. They're best savoured at slower speeds before the slipstream becomes too intrusive. For those in a hurry, driving with the roof up is a must. At 1,365 kilograms, the A3 cab is no lightweight, but the car makes the most of the 1400 turbo engine's 92 kilowatts of max power, and it always feels more willing than you expect. The 0 to 100 time, 10.2 seconds top speed, a very attainable 211 kilometers an hour. And when we're talking fuel consumption, Audi claims 5.1 litres per 100 kilometers for the combined cycle. The trip computer at the moment is telling us between 8 and 8.1 litres per 100 kilometers. So I suppose it depends on your driving style and how much open road driving you do, just how economical this car will actually be. With the roof raised, refinement levels are good, but not quite as good as the normal sedan. Even with that insulated hood, wind noise is a factor, especially around the soft C-pillars, while overall interior noise levels are higher too. But it's a star as far as handling is concerned. Most of the convertibles I've driven suffer from a measure of scuttle shake, mainly because of a relative lack of structural rigidity compared to a normal metal-roofed car. But I have to say this A3 Cabriolet feels very solid, feels very composed, and in fact the handling absolutely top-notch. The suspension finds a good compromise between torque response and efficient damping, while the steering feels reassuringly positive, allowing crisp turn-in. The optional 17-inch wheels are home to fat footprint tyres, which deliver decent grip too. Cabriolets are the kind of cars that polarize opinion. Some like the glamour of wind in the hair motoring, others hate the idea of sunstroke, frostbite in winter, and the issue of security. But if you are a ragtop fan, the A3 sedan ticks most of the boxes. It's luxuriously executed, it has seating for 4, and it has a half-decent boot. Most of all though, it's a handsome machine. And for many, that will be the deciding factor, despite the fact that you'll need more than 400,000 Rand to make this car your own. A willing engine, slick S-tronic gearbox and a composed chassis, despite the lack of a real roof, create a car that's smooth, refined and entertaining, even with the top down. But the two-door layout and lower roofline compromise access for rear passengers, and at well over 400,000 Rand, cruise control should be a standard item.